basically, it's going to be like a...
Okay, with the business meeting.
So, at the start of the
You actually don't say much until...
No, you just stand and look beautiful.
I'm decorative.
Yeah, you could always give these.
Very good. I'll give those.
Give those.
I'll do all the nice stuff.
Okay, that sounds good. So, good afternoon. If you could all take your places, we've now got the EHDN business meeting, and business meeting sounds a little dry, but this is the meeting at which you can learn a bit about your network. And the first thing we're going to tell you about are the EHDN Executive Committee elections that you've all voted for. And just to remind you that the Executive Committee is the body that oversees the activities of EHDN. So this is an important committee for EHDN, and this is the committee as it stands at the moment, and that's been working together over the last couple of years. The top two rows are the elected members, and four of us, so myself, Alsbeta Mulbach, Jaime Kulveski and Katerina Mariotti, will be standing down on this occasion. Unfortunately, Katerina wasn't able to make it at the last moment, but I think Jaime and Alsbeta are both here. So if you are, could you just please come up on the stage? So thank you so much for your time on the EC. It's been really appreciated. And thanks, Alsbeta.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay. Thank you.
So now the people who have been elected newly onto the EC. So we have Ahmad Aziz, Nonia Lahiri, Esther Kubo, and Hoa Nguyen. So I'd be grateful if they could all come on to the stage. So it'd be lovely if you could all just very briefly introduce yourselves so everyone knows who you are, if they don't know already.
Yeah. My name is Ahmad Aziz. I'm a neurologist and epidemiologist by training, currently a research group leader at German Center for Neurodegenerative Diseases in Bonn. I've been involved in HD research since 2005 when I started my PhD project with Raymond Rose.
Hi everyone, I'm Noina Lahiri. I'm a consultant in clinical genetics at St George's in South London, and I've been involved with HD since just after Ahmed, maybe 2007, when I did my MD with Sarah Tabrizi at UCL.
Hi, my name is Hoa Nguyen. I'm head of the Department of Genetics in the Ruhr University in Bochum. I work mainly in genetic counseling and diagnostics, but also basic research with animal models for Huntington's disease. And I've been involved in Huntington's disease since 1999, so a long time.
Hello, my name is Esther Kubo. I am a neurologist working at Hospital Universitario in Burgos, Spain. So I have been working in Huntington's disease since 2006 in the registry Enroll, and I conduct clinical research. Thank you very much.
So thank you, and look forward to having you on the, well, I don't look forward to having you on the EC, but Patrick does. Thank you. So, of course, this will leave a gap in the scientific the SBAC, because Ahmad and Hoa have been on the SBAC up to now. So the SBAC, as you may remember from 2 years ago, is now appointed, and this was rather than voted into place, and this is really to try and ensure that the right spread of expertise is there in the SBAC. This current SBAC will be standing until 2026, but there is a process in place to replace these 2 members, and that will take place over the next couple of months and will be announced on the website. To also let you know that you voted yes for the constitutional amendment. So this is really quite a minor amendment, but it's about how we constitute the executive committee, and so we've always had a lay representative from the family organisations on the committee. This is really important. We've got a long-standing relationship with EHA, and they've taken this position, and we intend fully to continue that very important relationship with EHA, but this amendment just allows us to broaden that out a little to adopt people onto the committee from a wide range of lay bodies that are now very active. So I'm just going to briefly tell you about some of the EHDN activities that have been going on since 2022. 1 or 2 of these I've already mentioned this morning, so I'll just mention those very quickly indeed. Just to let you know that Mike Orth stepped down as Science Director after the last plenary, and we've since appointed Flaviano Giorgini and Juliana Bronzova as joint Science Directors. So they've been in place now for, I think, nearly 2 years, 18 months, 1 year, sorry, 1 year. They've been fantastic. It feels a lot longer, but for good reasons. So they're fantastic, and if you want to contact them, their emails, they're freely available. So just to mention endorsed studies, these are important for EHDN. So we have a process for endorsing clinical studies, and this is really so that investigators and family members can have confidence in the studies that we do as part of our network. And so these studies have to be based on a solid rationale. They have to not put participants at unacceptable risk. They have to have appropriate and feasible clinical trial plans, and be acceptable in terms of the demands that they place on patients and families. So they're reviewed by the SBAC and EC, and also sometimes external advisors as appropriate. And this is just to give you a snapshot of the studies that we've endorsed since the last plenary meeting. And you can see that the most recent one was the Al-Nilam study. Quite a lot of the others over the last couple of years have been amendments. Of course, it's important also to thoroughly review amended protocols. So we've been quite busy, as you can see, doing that over the last couple of years. And I should say this is, seeing all these studies up there, this is terribly positive in terms of demonstrating the activity at the moment in terms of clinical trials. The Leslie Jones Seed Fund Awards, we've awarded 10 since the last meeting, and these cover a wide range of topics. These awards are meant to allow people to do pilot work, to And so they're really, in these awards, we're looking for things that are innovative and new, and the pilot award will allow someone to do the work they need to do to go on and raise further money to do that research. And you can see that there's, again, quite a wide range covering fundamental molecular genetics right through to a number of projects that are quite clinically orientated. So just to say a bit about the working groups and task forces, this is a list just to remind you about the working groups. Some of these groups have been working groups since really the beginning of the network, and some are much newer. Of course, a working group may come to the end of its life, and then, you know, we're happy to close that down and restart it again if necessary. So some of these groups are new over the last couple of years. And just to say that, you know, if any members have a really good idea for a new working group and you think there's a real imperative, please contact EHDN either through the think tank or the science directors. And I just want to give you just a couple of snapshots to give you a flavour of what's been going on in terms of the working groups. So this won't in any way be comprehensive, and I don't want to offend people whose work isn't represented here. So the fluid biomarker working group has really undergone quite a reset over the last year. The lead facilitators are Lauren Byrne and Neil Scotter, and they've reshaped the group, really aiming to strengthen it as a biomarker network within Europe, bringing in some new aspects such as working with regulatory bodies in the future, and looking at really cutting edge technology, thinking about using AI, for example. So they've really reset this working group. They want to, they've got a number of new activities in mind. They've thought about the membership structure, and I think have come up with quite an interesting way of thinking about the membership. They've divided the membership into active and passive members. So active are those really actively involved in projects currently, and passive members will be kept up to date. And of course there can be, you know, there's some fluidity between those two categories. And they've developed a new meeting structure as well, with a core working group and topic-focused workshops, and they're planning to have showcase seminars every couple of years. So I think this is a nice example of how the working groups can change over time in the way that they operate. And I should say that quite a few working groups have changed the way that they operate, and often are meeting much more frequently than they used to going back a few years ago. Just to mention a few outputs from the working groups over the last couple of years, the neuroimaging group put out a very nice review in JHD, so I encourage you to take a look at that. As you heard this morning, the physio working group has been working hard on their guidelines and also translating them into different languages. So this is the French one, so Ed, I'm sure you can read this fluently. And the Incidental Findings Task Force have done a really helpful piece of work for us, thinking about how to report incidental findings, which will be incorporated into EHDN policy moving forwards. I'm not going to say a lot about the Advanced Therapies group because I mentioned that this morning, but just to highlight that this group has been very active. There are a number of different task forces that are looking at the various challenges for translating advanced therapies to the clinic. And we had a really nice working group virtual forum in September of 2023, You can see Yuri up there at the top who chaired it. I think there was a real buzz about this meeting, and some of the nice things that have come out of it have been some new collaborations between working groups and also some new ideas about how to really facilitate working group activities moving forward. So I just want to mention one of these, which is a new strategic fund. So this is separate to the seed funds, and this is something that we're really going to be piloting over the next year or so. This is to provide specific support for working groups and task forces. It needs to be something that's really critical to the group's strategy. So that could take many forms. I think it's going to be quite distinct from the pilot funds. So we'll be, the process is already underway. Only working groups and lead facilitators can apply on behalf of the group. And the process at the moment is that groups need to put forward a 500-word proposal by Monday. So if you haven't put in a proposal, you've still got a bit of time to do it. There's going to be a limit of 4 proposals for the first round, and they will meet with Think Tank and receive some feedback, and then the deadline for a full proposal is the 1st of November. So it may take a little bit of time for this to bed down, and there will be another round in March. Flav has been very active in generating new ideas, and one of the things that he's doing is putting together a Marie Curie doctoral network. This is called Strive-HD. So these networks will fund up to 15 PhD students for 3 years. So this network is focused on a number of themes. It's focused on brain development, on DNA repair and somatic stability, and on wet biomarkers. And there are a number of themes that cut across that as well. So the project's been drafted, and the deadline is the end of November. These are very competitive applications, but if it does get funded, this could be a terrific way of bringing new young blood into the Huntington's community. So we had a revision of the scientific strategy, which is now covering the period of 2023 to 2028. And this is the 3rd revision of the scientific strategy. The first one was in 2011. The first revision of that was in 2017. That was led by Jean-Marc Burgunder. And I should say the mission of EHDN hasn't changed, but the idea of the revision is that it takes account of the new landscape and new opportunities. So I'm just going to briefly mention a few activities that have grown out of this scientific strategy revision. So one is the EHDN Regulatory Science Initiative that, again, I mentioned this morning. And this is aimed at facilitating the implementation of ongoing and future clinical trials by facilitating interactions with EMA. And the first project, again, as I mentioned this morning, will be qualification of the HDISS. So this has been coordinated by Pavlina Konstantinova, her previously of Vector Y, who's now employed part-time as a science director in EHDN, leading this and the advanced therapies initiatives. Brain banks for early stage disease. Again, I mentioned this this morning, so I'm not going to dwell on this, but just to say I think this is an important activity. It will only ever yield very small numbers of brains, but brain from individuals who sadly pass away when they're in the asymptomatic or very early stages is going to be gold dust for a huge range of purposes. Of course, this is going to be a very difficult and challenging project to put together. We need to develop really ethically sound processes and an infrastructure to support this. And the first meeting to discuss this, which was a very fruitful meeting, chaired by Ed at UCL, took place only a couple of months ago, and there will be follow-up meetings that I'm sure you'll hear about in the future. The EHDN platform meetings, this is another initiative that I hope we'll see more of over the next couple of years. We've had 2 platform meetings already. The first one was to talk about the preliminary findings of the Proof-HD study, and the second one was to discuss the published findings from the Gen-HD1 study. And I think for those of you who attended, I hope you'd agree that they were lively, there was a good level of discussion, and we already have ideas about what future platform meetings could look like. And so just as an example, there may be one in the next few months to discuss the DBS trial, which was run as an EHDN trial some time ago now, but we think this still warrants discussion in the network. The process of revising the map has really just started, and this is about reconnecting with centres, understanding what our resources are, and really trying to reconnect on a one-to-one level with PIs in sites. So we've had a number of video calls already. They've really yielded some really interesting and valuable information. Taking this forward to the whole network is going to be really quite a big challenge, but we're working on that at the moment, how that will be done exactly. And I think this is a piece of work that will take a little while to work through, but I hope that over time, many of you in the room will receive calls, and please give feedback on those calls when you do. So obviously, as a network, communication and education is incredibly important. So as part of the strategic plan, we have an element which is focused on communication, and we now have a formal communication group that you can see listed there. And they have objectives that are aligned with the strategic plan. Of course, they oversee the regular communication activities using a whole range of channels that are listed here. But there are also a few new activities. So, for example, the JHD, the Young HD group made a podcast which is currently available, I think, on YouTube as well as on our platform. And I think this is a really fantastic podcast. I'd really encourage you to go and listen to it, and I think they're planning to do more. There was a fellowship impact project, which I'll mention in a moment, which is really asking the fellowships that we provide within EHDN, are they valuable, and are there things we should be thinking about moving forward? And the communication group also provides support for a whole range of educational initiatives. So just to say a little bit more about the Fellowship Impact Project, basically this involved interviews with fellows and with hosts, and there were some really good response rates, both from fellows, hosts, and also from EHDN organisational team members. And what was really nice was that a significant proportion of the fellows who participated in this process gave really quite positive feedback. So there was a general feeling that the fellowships have led to improvements in their own practice. Many of them have stayed in HD, and so levels of satisfaction overall were very high. There were a few important things that we are now attending to, some of which are up here on the slide. And so, for example, an increase in funding, which has now been put in place. And there is also a poster, K003, so I'd encourage you to go and look at that if you're interested in the results of this survey. And just to mention that there's now a fellowship alumni meeting, and it'll take place at this meeting tomorrow, open to anybody who's interested, but particularly to past fellows and anyone who might be interested in taking up a fellowship in the future. So the fellowships from the last year, we had a fantastic field to select from, probably one of the biggest fields we've had so far. And you can see that fellows were selected from across a number of continents. And these are the fellows from 2023 and 2024, and you can see the names of the fellows, the country of origin, and also the hosts. And so I'm just going to finish by reminding you about Think Tank. Please contact Think Tank if you have any thoughts or have anything you'd like us to discuss, either with you directly or within the Think Tank. And these are the current members of Think Tank. Unfortunately, we are now losing Yuri as the coordinator. He's going on to bigger and better things. But Kinga from Leicester is taking over, and I'm sure she'll do a fantastic job. So I'm just going to finish by thanking the central coordination support who are involved in the day-to-day running of EHDN and with whom we have very frequent interactions, and also the Ulm office. Thank you very much.
Stay. So we, of course, thank you, Anne, for this fantastic presentation, but also it's a very important obligation now to say thank you to Anne, because as she's rotating off, she's now handing over to the next chair. So we'll see whoever that may be.
Whoever that might be.
So I think I speak for everybody here in the room to say, Anne, you have done a fantastic job. And also personally, Anne was in charge of EHDN for a very, very difficult time, both globally with the pandemic, but also for some of us personally. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this fantastic job. And we have something for you, yeah. So this is our thing, and a big hug. Okay, and just that you don't, and we will be able to, or we hope to retain your talents and campaigns in various roles, even if you don't have an official EHDN role anymore. Okay, thank you very much. And with the next, we're like exactly on time again. This is again thanks to Anne. I have one final forward-looking announcement to make before we have Ed Wild coming up. And if I could see the next slide, please. Has disappeared. Okay. If it's not, it is that I can announce already one more. Exactly. So the location of the next. Sorry. Yeah. No, I see it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now here it is. So it's the location of the 2026 EHDN Plenary Meeting will be in Krakow, Poland, and please mark your calendars. Make sure that you mark your calendars not for the traditional September, but October. And I look very much forward to welcoming everybody here and the rest of our community in 2026. With that, I hand over to Ed Wild. Thank you very much.